still need to do a little bit of cleanup here. There's still a little bit of old glue and gunk left on this face. We're doing pretty good. I've got the body still. I'm just gonna kind of fit this in here real quick. I don't think it's gonna hurt to just take a little shave off of this neck here. So we're gonna try to increase the neck angle, and to do that, we're gonna take a wedge out of the back of this heel. So I'm gonna set my calipers to a nice even 25 thousandths of an inch, because that feels about right. And I'm gonna scribe a line across the bottom of this heel. And then I'm going to take that up on the side just a little bit. On both sides. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I should have a nice even measurement there. What I will do now is grab a straight edge and something sharp. And I'm going to take from that line I just scratched in to that front edge. I'm going to try to scribe a line in there to help me keep this straight. This just helps me keep a straight line going here. So I take off the same amount on both sides. That way everything lines back up when I go to put it back together. And I can follow that as I start shaving some off that heel. So that is my next job. I'm probably going to go make sure all of my chisels are sharp before we get started on that. And we'll go from there. Alright, so I got some chisels out, and I got them sharpened up. This is going to be kind of hard to show. I will show a little bit of it here, and then I will probably do most of the rest off camera. Okay, just pulling this in here so you can see it. You can see my line there. There's a line across the top, and that's where I'm going to start, really, is across the top. And yep, this is going to be difficult to show. So I gotta hold it kind of funky so you can see what I'm doing. But I'm just gonna start shaving in. The biggest thing to remember is I don't really want to cut this out this way, or even when I'm doing the edges, I don't really want to cut it out because it's more likely I'll take a big chip out. Whereas if I'm cutting in, the only thing that's moving is what I'm cutting, so I get closer to just what I want. And yeah, I'm having a hard time doing this and showing you. But ultimately, there we go. I should have started with a smaller one. This is it. And right here, I'm kind of just using my thumb here as pressure to push down, so we're just carving a little bit away. Okay, I'm going to have to switch to a position. It's probably going to be mostly up close to me as I do this, but that's kind of the idea. I'll bring you back to show you some progress as we get along, but that's mostly it. Alright, I've been working at this for a little while, and it's fitting up really good. I get it in there, and I really like the seam. It's kind of hard to show where I can hold it, where I know it's lined up good. You got to get it all the way in there and held down. But yeah, no, it's looking good on that front. It's staying straight, and this is just a very rough check here. If we get a straight edge, oh, you can't see the bridge, but we're above the bridge and just below that saddle. I'm actually thinking that's just about perfect. You can see over there we're over it. That's Yeah, that's really good. Really. I'm liking that. I think that's going to be probably good. What I'm going to do, what we need to do now is the problem. So we've got the neck angle really good. The problem is it's really loose in there. So it's not going to fit real good. So I got to get some shims to glue to the side of this dovetail to bulk that back out so that we can reshape it to fit perfectly in the way we want it now. Then it'll never move again. It'll be great. I got to go find some shim material. I'm not sure if I have any pre-cut, so I might have to go thin down some mahogany, and that could take me a minute. So I'll go do that, and then we'll come back. We'll glue those on. That's going to take a little bit of dry time. We want it to be totally dry before we start carving. And then we're getting closer. We're getting really close to gluing this neck back in, truthfully. This next step is the longest and most annoying step, fitting this dovetail back to that hole. But we'll get through it. All right, here we go. I got 2 little shims. There's some nice high-grade mahogany. We're just going to put a little bit of glue on them. They're pretty thin. They probably could have been thinner, if I'm being honest. But they will do fine for what we need. The only difference that thinner would have made would mean that I have less work tomorrow when I come to shave these down. Okay. We'll do the other side. We're just gluing those on there. I got some wedges out to hopefully kind of square this up so I could more easily clamp this down. I don't know how well this is going to work. Not very. There's one. Okay. We'll let that set up overnight, and then those shims will be well adhered. That glue will be totally dry, and we should be able to start carving that down tomorrow. All right. So the setup overnight, and I got this shaved down to be the right size here on the back of this dovetail. We just got a really thick one now, and as you saw, I've got my carbon paper out. And we're going to start fitting this to that neck pocket, that dovetail on the body. Basically, I'm just going to push this in here and try to push it down. And then we'll pull it out. And it will tell me where it is sticking. So like you can see down here, it got dark. There's a big spot right up here. There's a couple spots on this side, down here. And I'll carve those away, and as I continue to do this, we will get lower and lower. Let me find the tool I want to be carving. I'm going to use this chisel for right now. Just take a little bit off of there. And then as we do this, it'll get lower and lower into that pocket until it fits perfectly right where I want it to. It's tight. Okay, so just like that, we'll put those back on here. We put it back in here. Helps if I can get it out so the neck is hanging over the edge. Okay, and we do it again. So you see those marks? There's some on this side. This is my least favorite part of resetting necks. This is, however, a very important part because it makes sure that neck is going to be really, really well fit to the neck pocket. It's going to be really well fit to this. And that's important. You want that to fit really well. If it fits really, really well, it shouldn't move ever again. And we should, you know, this guitar will last, well, at least another 80 years. But this is the slowest part, so I'll get to it. And I'm not going to record a whole bunch more of me just sitting here carving away. Especially when I can't show it super, super well. At some point, I should get me one of them on the head cameras so you could see exactly what I see. Problem is, they're kind of expensive. But yeah, I'll get going on this. And I'll bring you back once I've made some progress. Because, once again, this is just carve it off, stick it in, carve it off, stick it in, carve it off. We're not too far off, really. It's only got, like, what? Less than 1/4 of an inch? Well, maybe a little bit more of a drop. So, we'll get there eventually, but, oh, it's going to take a minute. Alright, it's taken me all day, but I got it. It's sitting nice and flush. I haven't put any glue in it yet, and actually it's stuck. That's a good sign. So if I can get it out, we'll put some glue in it. If I can get it out, we'll get some glue in there, and we'll get this thing setting back up. I want to cover every surface just to make sure we get good glue coverage. Pull out my paintbrush, make sure it's not totally soaked. Start spreading glue. Oh man, kind of make sure you can see this, I guess. I'm trying to make sure we get 100% coverage on glue so we have the best glue contact surface that I could imaginably have. And I'm going to do both surfaces just to 100% be sure. Just like that, we're ready to go. Okay. Press that in there by hand first. And then we will grab my clamp. Just making sure we're doing okay here. We are. Okay, just kind of set this on its side here. And we're going to squeeze from the back of this heel to the tail of the guitar. Be sure we're getting all the angle we can out of that. And then I'm going to put a clamp on the tongue. Okay. It's actually looking really good. We're meeting up really well on all the seams. I'm happy with that. That's going to sit for at least overnight, if not longer. I want this to be totally set, but we're in good shape. I didn't really show checking the neck angle. I did do it a bunch of times before I decided I was done, but it's looking pretty good. We should be good to leave this sit for a while. Okay, so this glued up for probably like 24 hours, and then it sat for another close to that. I'm just getting back to this now. This is looking really good. I've been doing a couple of things to make sure we're getting cleaned up here. I've got parts out. You probably saw in one of the clips I got all the bridge pins out. I've also got the new tuning buttons sitting over right there, but we're not going to quite do that yet, I don't think. I'm not totally sure how I want to accomplish that yet, but we're getting there. I think we need a tiny amount of fretwork, just to make sure they're totally flat, get rid of any flat spots. Make sure they're totally level and get rid of any flat spots. And then we'll clean the board from where I had to heat it up and just make sure it's nice and clean. Other than that, we're looking good. We are moving along. I'm really liking the way that the neck angle's looking now. But I think we're going to try and do a little fret leveling. So let me make a little bit of space here. We'll come this way and we'll just do this real quick. So let me grab my file. It's been a little while since I've done one of these. There's a couple of spots that are a little worn up here towards the top. That's really why I'm hitting this. I don't think that this is crazy out of level. Once again, this doesn't have an adjustable truss rod. It does have a truss rod, as we saw, but not adjustable. This will still work just fine. I have been doing a couple little things off camera, such as I did put this fret back in, this one at the body joint. Hammered that back in, so we're good there. That's probably just about it. Yeah, no, that's probably good. Let me get that back. Remember to set it where you can see it. Okay, and then we'll take my crowning file and just run through here and recrown these. Okay, the thing I need that I could not find, and I still can't find, I have a fret end dressing file. I need to go see if it's not in my little bag that I take. Oh, I need to find it because these fret ends are a little sharp, and it's not so much like fret sprout. It's just the edges are a little bit sharp. So I'm gonna go see if I can't find my fret end dressing file, and we'll do that. Alright, I found it. It was sitting underneath something else. Basically, this is a file, really fine file with a smooth edge. So you set that smooth edge on the wood, and you won't scar it up. So we're just going to go through here and kind of round over any of these fret ends. And that will make this way more comfortable to play because you won't catch any sharp edges. I gotta flip this around. Okay, putting that back up on the rack, my tool rack there. We are done with that. I'm gonna start polishing these. I've got a piece of sandpaper here that I'm saying is in the 600 range, and that's where I'm gonna start. Now, because we did a little bit of work on the ends here, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of overlap those. Try to knock any file marks off, that sort of thing. Okay, very cool. Alright, polishing pads time. I think I'm going to break out a new pack, so let me go grab it. Brand new package of micro polishing pads. I will show them to you here. They're from, these ones are from Alpha Abrasives. I know they sell these on Amazon, and I think they're actually a little bit cheaper on Amazon. But these are the ones that I buy in store anytime I need them. Just while I'm thinking about it, because I almost never think to order things in advance. But if I'm at a store, I think to buy things in advance. So yeah, we're gonna break out a new package of these. These will last me about a year's worth of fret polishes. So they last quite a while, really. Thinking about trying to save this plastic container to hold them in. But there's 6 of them. And I'm going to number them right now if I have a Sharpie to do it. So what inevitably happens with these is I rub off the numbers that tell you what they are. So what I started doing was marking them on their sides with a permanent marker as such. So for the first one I'll do 1. The second one gets 2. The third one gets 3. And so on. This one doesn't even have any markings on it. So it goes all the way up to 6. And we start with 1. So this way I can always just quickly grab and see where I'm starting, even after I cover up the abrasive, the number here, just by using them. And immediately these are starting to look pretty good. And then we move up. It really doesn't take a whole lot before you're finished with the pad. And these aren't really removing anything. These are really just polishing, which technically speaking is removing, but I'm talking about like noticeable material here. So you're not really worried about digging a hole too much as long as you keep moving. Those are already looking phenomenal. They're in the realm of brand new frets at this point. That is how good these look. Last one. Okay. That looks great. Try and show those to you a little bit. They got a good polish to them. I'm happy with that. So let me go grab a new razor blade and we will start cleaning up that board. Hey everybody, Caleb here. You may remember me from such classics as The Beginner's Guide to Blaming the Dog or The Fine Art of Faking Interest at a Dinner Party. But today I'm here to introduce you to the Clear Soul 1Q vinyl record player. Clear Soul has sent me this model to try out so I can share the positives of having such a machine in your life. For starters, setup is simple as could be. Whether you're following the included instructions or the video tutorial, it's so easy, someone born long after the death of vinyl could do it. Now you're probably thinking, Caleb, is this worth the investment? Well, just ask this scientician. And he'll tell you about the great effects quality music can have on your life. And speaking of quality, let's listen to the only vinyl I could find. Kenny Rogers' Greatest Hits. And the full-length YouTube will allow us to listen to copyrighted music. But if you're like me and you have a limited vinyl collection, that's okay. This connects to Bluetooth. And it makes a great sound that way. For a limited time, Clear Soul is offering a 20% off on these models if you use the code 20CALEB1Q at checkout on Amazon or on their website. The information will be in the description below. So I hope you enjoy the information on this 1Q vinyl player. Alright, so let's clean this board up. I got a nice brand new razor blade out and we're just gonna kinda scrape across the board. Now, I can't stay in one spot. I have to move across the board because it has a radius. And I'm not really removing enough to fight that radius, so I just slide across there and clean up in between those frets. There's just a little bit of a groove up in these top couple of frets, which I got a little bit closer to taking out. So I did a little bit more work on those with that razor blade, but really nothing noticeable too much. And now we'll finish off this fretboard. So I'll go ahead and kind of dust it real quick. And then we'll put some Be Good oil on it. And that will be just about our finishing touches here. That's looking good. Take off the excess. And our fretboard is looking great. That looks phenomenal. I'll try and show that. Nice clean fretboard. What I was working on between some clips here is I did start working on these tuners a little bit. I took them all off individually, one by one, and I put them in my ultrasonic cleaner for just a few minutes. And they look a lot better. But I'm going to end up taking them all off again to put these buttons on. I've got sitting over here. And I think it's the next thing I'm going to do is put these buttons on. Now, I took them off one at a time when I cleaned them, so I know they went back exactly where they were. These top ones, they are bent a little bit, but they're really not that bad, so I'm hoping that's not going to be an issue. More so, I'm just going to end up taking them off just so they go back on where they do. They cover up the same footprint that they did. I'm going to have to lubricate these as well because I cleaned them in the ultrasonic cleaner. There is nothing left on them. And as old as they are, they could use a little bit. But they cleaned up a lot. They were very dirty. I didn't do anything to these other than put them in the ultrasonic cleaner. And so, yeah, they cleaned up pretty good. So I'm going to end up taking these all off of here one by one so we can put these new tuning buttons on there. So there was one left on there, and what I did to get that off, I don't think I showed that. That was kind of in between clips. I just took the heat gun, I did a little bit of heat on it and pulled it right off. Everything else that's been on there has just crumbled, and that one that I pulled off has not been much better. I've been looking at how to do these. I don't think I've actually done these before, put new buttons on. But for the most part, especially with these plastic ones, you really just kind of heat up this post and slide it on there. So that's what we're going to try and do. But I'm going to take it off the guitar to do it and take it apart so we have the fewest amount of parts possible. And I'll hold it in a little vise here and we'll do it there. So I'll start taking these off and we'll see where we get from there. Alright, so we're putting these knobs on here. I got these little tuning buttons. And I've got one of the tuners here in my little vise. And I've got my soldering iron out warming it up. This is not a procedure I have a lot of experience with, but luckily there's a lot of resources online to get refreshed. And there's of course more than one way to do this. I'm choosing to use this old soldering iron to heat this up. I've seen it done with a torch, and I think that would be better, except for I don't have one, because it just takes just a couple of seconds. Instead of me trying to sit here and just heat it up through contact, you can just run the torch over it just a little bit and those things slide right on, but I don't have one of those, so we're doing this. I'm hoping that's been on there long enough. We will try it. The answer is not quite. Right like that. So I'm putting those on just to the end of the bit that's like textured to hold it on. And I think that that's going to end up being perfect. So we'll let that cool down. I don't know if I'll show any of the others because it's kind of a slow procedure getting it warmed up initially. But that's pretty much it. We got a tuning button on there and it's warm, so let me let that cool off and we'll do the rest of them. Alright, well I've done a couple more and I thought I'd show you where I got with my progress so far. So this is the G-string tuner. I'm taking them off the guitar one at a time so they go back on the way they were. Just because I'm worried that that might be important later. So I'm leaving it a little more together and I'm actually clamping it by the post. So I can get a little bit better control on where the heat goes. I don't have to hold it up so tight. And then what I've started doing is just kind of putting this on by hand. And that way I can kind of keep the heat on it. And just barely push those on there. Now I don't want to push too hard here. Lose control and burn myself. I might flip it over and see what the other side looks like. Decide that I need to go a little bit further on there. And that's about it. I said that was about it, now I'm doing just a little bit more. Okay. And just like that, that one's done. And yeah, it's still pretty warm. But I can set it back in there. Whew. And we'll move on to the next one. So I'll go ahead and get these finished up now that I've kind of got this down to a science. It's not too bad. And I'll bring you back when we're done. Well, I believe we're ready for strings. You can see there I got tuning buttons on all them tuners. And I got this set down here. And actually I think this guitar is finally ready to be strung up. It looks really good. The customer sent these buttons along, or buttons. The customer sent these bridge pins along. And I've actually gone ahead and shaved just a little bit off the edge. There to get a good angle on there so that ball end, it doesn't get stuck on the end, it falls off the front like it should. And we're going to be good to go. So he actually sent these strings as well. I am pretty sure that's what these are for. The Martin strings are for the Martin guitar. So let's get started on stringing this thing up. So I think the last video I used some old Martin strings, the mandolin. I think that was the last video. If you've seen it, I did that mandolin. I pulled out some Martin strings and I broke the high E. Well, the high E string broke before I even got it up to tension, and the loop broke on it. Well, I emailed them, and they sent me 2 new packs of strings. So. Just a little follow-up there. If you saw that, they actually they fixed my problem. So good on Martin support for that one. Okay. Once again, I've got A string on here, and I'm going to cut until I get all 6 of them on there and me tuned up. We'll see. Okay, I'll go ahead and get this strung up, and we'll see where we're at. We got this thing playing. The only little hitch is I started to string this thing up. was, turns out if you change the neck angle to lower the action and you don't think about the saddle at all, you might end up with too low of action. So I had to go make a new saddle real quick. Here's the old one. When I strung it up, the bass side was perfect and the treble side was sitting at like 30 thousandths at the 12th fret. So it was super low, like way too low. It buzzed on everything. If you just barely played it, it was fine, but playing it at any reasonable volume and it was buzzing. I'm already out of tune, so let me get tuned back up. I'm actually surprised by this guitar. The tuners work great. I did like re-lubricate them with some 3-in-1 oil after I cleaned them all the way. They work phenomenally. And I really like the sound. I actually think this guitar sounds better if you play it kinda gently. I think part of that is just the string thickness. They're not quite the thickest strings. But no, this sounds great. I love it. I'm sure the customer's gonna love it. It's basically back to a really, really good playing position. This has changed a lot since I've gotten my hands on it. It actually looks like a usable guitar. So I hope you enjoyed watching this neck reset. A whole bunch of work to get this thing set back up. I'm sure the customer's gonna love it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.